Hello, you guys. It is me, V&A. Welcome into the pre-show before the free show. And I'm really happy that we're here today on Texas Football Today. We are live. And to join me is Carter Yates.
Welcome into the pre-show before the free show. I'm your temporary host, Carter Yates, filling in on a spot start for Greg Tepper, who is in Mexico because...
He got deported, so...
No, not. He's on vacation by the beach.
All right, yeah.
So I will be your Jacoby Brissett today, just a spot start. V&A, I think this is the first Texas Football Today that is neither Ashley Pickle, Greg Tepper, or Max Thompson.
We are making history right now.
And I promise for those listening at home right now, it'll probably be one of the last times. So they will be back here pretty soon. We're just going to fill in temporarily.
Yes, because Pickle is she died, as Tepper mentioned last week, and he's in Mexico enjoying, probably just having a blast.
Mm-hmm. How was your weekend?
It was really good. We celebrated my best friend's birthday.
Good stuff.
You know, went out to this place called Truck Yard. It was a lot of fun. It was great. What about yours?
No offense to Ashley Pickle, I think I went to the best wedding I've ever gone to Friday night. I'm going to say it. It was one of Kennedy and my fiance's work friends. Let me just give you a recap of the night.
You're going to have to explain yourself on that.
So first off, the night starts off horribly because we had it in our mind all week, like weddings at Colonial, weddings at Colonial, weddings at Colonial. We show up 10 minutes before the wedding, reception's at Colonial, wedding is at a chapel down the street, not in walking distance. So we got there for a 6:30 ceremony right as they were about to walk down the aisle. And I get in there and I know the guy, like he's a really good dude, but he's not the guy I'm not the guy he wants to see right before he's about to get married. And I'm like, oh, it's so exciting as I like go down the aisle right before them, get my seat. And anyway, so then we go to the reception part. And, you know, Kennedy and I, now when we go to weddings, since we're having a wedding coming up in just over a year, we're thank you. Yeah, we're taking notes, right?
Okay.
We're saying, what do we want to have at our wedding? What do we not want to have? After listening to this DJ, I am 95% I want him to be the DJ at our wedding.
Oh, wow.
Kennedy is 0%. Let me tell you. So he starts off the night. It's a white guy. This is a small wedding. He's playing the keyboard. He starts off with doing the normal wedding songs, right?
Okay, sounds good.
We're all having dinner, and all of a sudden he starts playing the Soulja Boy on the keyboard. And he goes, I'll lean to the left and crank that thing now. And I kid you not, we're all eating dinner, and we stop chewing, stop conversation, and go, did he just crank that thing on the keyboard? Anyway, by this point, everyone is paying attention to him. And he goes into Flo Rida.
Oh.
Shorty had the apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. It was so beautiful.
That sounds like your kind of DJ right there.
Later in the night, everyone's on the dance floor. He stops the music and says, I got one question for y'all. Can we take it higher? Immediately, needle drops Creed higher. Okay, but listen to this part. Everyone left the dance floor. The whole wedding was on the dance floor, and one by one, when Creed came on, everyone left the dance floor to the point where this guy is saying, y'all can't do this to Creed, right? And I hold Kennedy on the dance floor. I say, we have to stay on for Creed. And she says, Carter, please, I want to leave with everyone else. And I said, we got to take it higher. So Kennedy and I are the only ones dancing on the dance floor while everyone else abandoned Creed.
Can you take... I can see it. I can already see it. I love that. Hired. Did you get his number?
Oh, we swapped some contact information. So I'll keep y'all updated on my next Texas Football Today appearance, maybe in a year or so from now.
That's amazing. I'm so excited that we're here together to do this show.
Well, that'll do it for the pre-show before the free show. Roll it. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's mothership in beautiful Louisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, and I'm your host, Carter Yates. Making us sound all nice and purty over in the producer's chair is Vianney Moreno.
Hey, what's up, you guys? How's it going?
It's going good, Vianney. Thank you so much for supporting us, whether you're listening live on YouTube, Facebook, or X.com, or if you're just listening to wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for supporting your favorite mediocre internet show. I am Carter Yates, filling in for Greg Tepper, and joining me just back from the Elite 11 in Del Valley is our Director of Recruiting, Greg Powers.
What's up?
It's good to see you, Greg.
You too, man. I'm fired up, man.
We're going to skip headlines. I'm calling it audible. A little less of me, a little more of GP. I want to hear about what you thought about the Elite 11. And I think we're ready for it. I can't wait to do this. This week in Cruton. All right, Powers. My biggest question about the Elite 11, I saw Keyshawn Henderson, Legacy School of Sports Science, is number one ranked athlete, overall prospect in the DCTF Hot 100. He wins Elite 11 MVP.
Yep.
What did you see from this guy? Because I know there are a lot of questions on, is he considered an athlete or a QB? What did you think about his performance?
Well, I'm going to deal with your questions about the athlete quarterback thing first off the top, because I think it's important to note that if you're rated as an athlete, that includes quarterback. Mm-hmm. That's what I kind of have been explaining to people as I think about Keyshawn Henderson's ranking. He could be the number one player in the state at multiple positions, I feel like, whether it's quarterback, wide receiver, or maybe even safety. He is an absolute freak show. Quickly passes the eyeball test, but I'm so impressed with his poise, the way that he carries himself on the field, the way that he handles himself off of the field. He has truly developed into that top tier recruit and leader that you want your quarterback to be. So impressed. And something that I think was really important to note. So the Elite 11 camp puts more throws on a quarterback than any other camp that you'll go to. They're throwing the ball from the time they get out there, like at around 11, all the way until the camp ends at 3. Different stations, different throws. So it really gives you a measuring stick towards the end of the event. Who has the most powerful arms? Who can still dial it up at the end of the day, right? And I think because everybody's talked about Henderson being such a tremendous athlete, I think when his first recruitment, like when his recruitment first started popping off, there were a lot of teams even recruiting him as more specifically as a wide receiver. But he concentrated on some of those programs that gave him a chance to play quarterback. He committed to Houston, where he had tremendous relationship. And one of the first offers that he had at quarterback was from the offensive coordinator there, who was at Baylor at the time, to play quarterback. So tremendous relationship built on the founding blocks of that. And now he gets to be the guy at Houston, and he looks like the guy throwing the ball. So if I'm a Cougars fan, I'm extremely excited about the future of this offense. One, because Keyshawn Henderson is a great athlete who can throw the heck out of the ball.
Yeah.
And whether he's rated athlete or quarterback, it doesn't matter. He's the highest rated commit UH has ever had, and he's a stud.
Would be a program-changing commit if they can hold on to him, the Houston Cougars, but I know he's got a great relationship with that school and has stayed rock solid on them. We knew Keyshawn Henderson was a dude.
Yeah.
Who is someone that maybe stock soared the most at the Elite 11? Who helped themselves the most this week?
I think Jake Fetty.
All right, El Paso.
Yeah,
there we go.
I think he, right there, throw for throw. Now, bear in mind, there were quarterbacks from other states. I was kind of just evaluating the Texas quarterbacks. Can't help but notice, like, when somebody's throwing the ball really well. But as far as Texas quarterbacks are concerned, he was right there with Keyshawn Henderson for being the MVP of the event. He won the accuracy part of the contest. He got 25 points. As a matter of fact, Tyler Skrbonek from Richmond Randall tied him. So 2 Texas quarterbacks were able to take home that honor. But Fetty throws a great ball, and one of the things that I really like to see from him at this camp was his ability to get outside the pocket and make accurate throws, because that's something he does really good on film. Sometimes that doesn't translate over necessarily that well to the camp setting. Well, he looked great. He also throws the ball from unique arm slots, which I think gives him a marked advantage as he transitions into college, because he already is kind of like athletic and savvy and doesn't panic when things break down. Now you can see that he can dial it up. Whether he has to throw a low trajectory throw or like a high trajectory throw, he can do both things. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
And you mentioned how Keyshawn Henderson showed he was a leader. What did you think personality-wise about Jake Fetty? You get to see these guys in a completely different setting, how they compete with some of the top recruits around. What did you think of him?
He's committed to Arizona State, and I think Sun Devils fans are going to be really excited that he's one of those guys who attacks every rep. He was just nose on the grindstone, I guess is the best way to say it. From the first rep to the last rep, Jake Fetty kept his foot on the gas, and that was noticeable. There are guys out there having fun. That's part of what makes them special, right? Like, they can put a smile on their face and still be super competitive. And Fetty had some of that, but he also, you could tell, like, he was out there for something to prove. Mm-hmm. I felt that. And I think that he proved it, because I saw that 24/7, our friends at 24/7 Sports named him the alpha dog of the event. So good showing for Texas high school football quarterbacks with him and Henderson.
Yeah, and you mentioned Texas high school football quarterbacks. I didn't know that there were a lot of other states represented here. Like, is this all just the southern part of the United States, Louisiana? Like, what are some of the states represented here?
Well, there were 2 quarterbacks. I didn't look like there were quarterbacks from other states. Louisiana probably having the most heavier presence besides Texas. And there were 2 2027 quarterbacks from Louisiana, and I hope I'm getting their names right. Peyton Houston and Malachi Ziegler. Those guys in 2027 are like elite national level arms. So there was a 2027 group of quarterbacks on the field that was, I would consider it, they kind of like put them into groups out there at the camp. So you had like your top group that had Keyshawn Henderson and Fetty and those top 2026 guys in it. And then you had an underclassmen group that had all the top Texas quarterbacks with Ziegler and Houston. And then there was a kid that came from North Carolina. His last name was Royal. I can't remember his first name off the top of my head, but he was special as well. But that 2027 group was pretty good.
So the 2027 group, let's talk about the underclassmen at this camp. Who was your favorite underclassman that you saw?
Well, I'm going to go with Kavian Bryant from Palestine Westwood.
Also a 30 points per game scorer on the basketball court.
And that's what I love about seeing him at this type of event. He's an elite thrower, and when he's got it right, like when all of the things like click into place, his arm talent was right there with some of those other top guys in that 2027 group. The Houston kid and the Ziegler kid from Louisiana were probably a tick more consistent at the end of the day than Bryant out of that 27 group, but I think it gives him a great measuring stick to see nationally where I'm at with the top guys, and Bryant's right there. His offer list is crazy good. Yep. He's got offers from a lot of the top colleges in the country, and it's easy to see why. But I found it interesting in talking with him after the camp. This is an interesting fact. Texas has offered in basketball, but hasn't offered yet in football.
And you don't see that because he's got like 30 offers in football and only 5 in basketball.
And Texas A&M has offered
only 5. I mean, he's an awesome basketball player, but like, you know what I mean.
Texas A&M has offered in football, but not in basketball.
This is hard to keep track of. I'm getting lost.
And Texas Tech is like the main school in state that's kind of like really pursuing him for both sports.
Does he want to play both sports, do you think?
He's considering playing both sports in college, but he said that he has a decision to make, and that decision is going to be coming soon. So he will have an announcement about like what he wants to do in college, and if he's going to go after one sport or if he wants to play both in school. Could that mean a commitment could be coming soon, or is he just going to announce like what he's decided? I don't know.
This might be a dumb question, but is there anything about his game that you see in the camp setting where you can tell he is a dynamic athlete in basketball? Like, is there any carryover with that, you think?
Not working out at quarterback specifically, probably, obviously he's a great athlete. He did really good on all of the escape the pocket drills and all that kind of stuff. But I think the thing that jumped out to me the most was his competitive nature, and that he was judging himself on every throw. That was something that I even talked a little bit with some of the Westwood staff after the event, and was like, that was one thing that I noticed, is that even if it was just an okay throw, that he was a little bit harsher on himself. Mm-hmm. And I love to see that competitive nature. And a guy, Brian Scott, he's hecka competitive. Like, he's ultra competitive. So that was fun to watch. But I could see, like, he's like processing through it, and he made improvements throughout the day, and his arm did not fall off at all. Like, he was still spinning it accurately at the end of the event.
I feel like that's what you want to see from quarterbacks that go out there. It's a fine balance between, you want to have fun and be personable. You don't want to just be like a robot out there,
right.
But you're also going there to get better and measure yourself up against the top competition. So I think that's something I would like to see. It's like, who's the guy that's going out there to get his work in, being the most competitive and not shying away from that? Do you have like a couple other guys who are just like super competitive?
I would go ahead and say, there were guys that were super competitive. I thought Jacob Janicek from Lovejoy really had something to prove. He was one of my sleepers. Another one of the sleepers from the event to me was Zach Johnson from Klein Kane.
Oh, you were talking about this guy. You're a big fan.
6'4", 210, 215 pounds. From the first drill to the last drill, I thought that he had the arm strength to really make all of the throws. He has the frame that college coaches are going to absolutely fall in love with, I feel like. It's 6'4", you can't coach. But one of the things that I noticed at this camp is that he was extremely poised. And that allowed him to have a repeatable and consistent delivery, which allowed him to maintain accuracy from the beginning to the end. On a windy day where there was like 25-mile-per-hour winds, there were guys out there who had stronger arms that were able to make some of the throws that some of these other players couldn't. And he was right there with the top quarterbacks. I feel like he is one of the true sleepers in Texas high school football right now. And I'm going to tip my cap to Coastal Carolina, led by former Texas high school football coach and now DPP over there, Paul Ressa, who was the first offer for Zach Johnson, and that was a pretty good evaluation job, I'd say.
Why is he so under the radar? What did he do last year? What's his story?
Well, I'm still finding out a lot about him and why he's flying underneath of the radar. That'd be something that I'd be interested, because his stats are good, but it is a really good quarterback class. I think that's something that may have gave his recruitment a little bit of pause, because a lot of these guys now pick their quarterbacks out extremely early, and you can only usually take one, right?
Yep.
So then the questions start popping up of, why hasn't this school offered this player in Texas? Well, I think it's a matter of getting to see kids like this, like getting to see them throw next to some of the other top arms and seeing that they can go throw for throw with guys that already have Houston offers, right? So I think that's important, and I think in the spring evaluation period, when coaches can come back through Texas and see guys move around, see them throw, not just meet them and look at them in person like they did in January, that his recruitment could be one that you see pop off.
So you got all the best quarterbacks in Texas all in one camp location, but who's the biggest genetic freak out there? Who's the guy, he just pops out among the elite of the elite? That guy is different.
It was an easy pick too.
Easy, okay.
It wasn't even hard.
Let's hear it.
Caden Johnson.
Big basketball player too at Fort Bend Marshall.
From Fort Bend Marshall, man. He walked out on the field and he was towering over everybody else. And he was in that top group of 2026 arms going throw for throw with some of the top guys. And I think a lot of people look at Caden Johnson as an athlete, right? Because he's so big, so strong, so powerful. In that 6'4", 6'5" range. He might even be pushing 6'6". I mean, he's a big dude. But there were times he flashed brilliance, because he has the frame that you can't coach, and when everything like lines up, he can really dial it up and put that frame behind it, and he can throw a fastball now, and he was cutting the wind with ease on some of those throws.
What does his offer list look like right now? And I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but like, what's I haven't heard his name in the recruiting list as much. I've just seen he's a really good player at Fort Bend Marshall, and you mentioned how loaded of an offer list it is for all these 2026 QBs. But are there any schools that are sticking out here for him, you think?
Well, I always look at some of the schools that I like to look at as the early identifiers of Texas high school football talent, and he has offers from UTEP and UTSA. And those staffs both do a tremendous job of, one, getting on some of the top guys early, and then you see them start to get more offers as more colleges get in on them later in the evaluation period. Colorado has offered him, but I don't know where they sit with some of the other top schools throughout the country. That's harder for me to assess just because, I don't know, is there somebody in Colorado that they really like, or is there somebody from California who's higher on that list than Caden Johnson all the way down in Texas? That remains to be seen. But he brings a certain dynamic to the table that I think he could be a great tight end, or he could also be a tremendous defensive end as well. So I think that you could see some of these colleges talk to him about that too.
I feel like every time you mention it, UTSA or UTEP have offered a Texas high school football player. You're like, okay, this guy's legit, probably.
I am thankful to the Texas college gods over the last few years that they gave us Jeff Traylor at UTSA, because he kind of kicked off like this offer thing, finding some of these great Texas high school football sleepers and making sure that they had a place to play in college. And they've enjoyed a lot of success, right, underneath the coach Traylor, and they've been able to parlay that up into, one, roster retention now, and two, recruiting into the transfer portal heavily. And now UTEP has hired Scotty Walden, who has been able to step up in the face of that and offer all the same guys that UTSA was offering. So it's just been a fun dynamic to watch, because UTEP's been recruiting, I think, above its weight class of what people typically think about their program. So it's just fun as just being like one of these, I guess, a recruiting nerd in Texas, that it's fun to watch these programs identify some of the players that we think are good, and they get rewarded with scholarships.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, our website, texasfootball.com, is loaded with Elite 11 content. We've got 5 eye-opening performances, 5 genetic cheat codes, 5 rising underclassmen. This was just a taste of everything that Powers saw and is put up on our website, so go subscribe now and check it out. Real quick, while I got you here, we don't have to go long on this, but Texas A&M got a pretty big commitment over the weekend that you and Mallory Hartley had a story up on right away. It's Cibolo Steel 2026 running back Jonathan Hatton. And it came right as the time that the Aggies were blowing a lead in the NCAA tournament. So that was a nice little offset right there. What are the Aggies getting?
Yeah, it was like everything coming to a head. I was on the way back from the Elite 11 camp, driving back up to the Dallas area from Austin. Texas A&M was getting put out of the tournament. Jonathan Hatton had taken a visit and ended up making his commitment later on in the evening. And I think it's a huge get for the Aggies. It's a loaded running back year in the state of Texas, but Hatton is rated within the top 10 prospects, and this just continues a trend that Mike Elko has now established, because they got the number 1 running back last year in the state and Tiger Ryden from DeSoto, and they got an elite guy this year in the state, Jonathan Hatton. And I love his fit in the SEC, because he can take the pounding from some of those bigger linebackers and defensive players that are within that conference, and stand up in the face of that test and pass it. So I think this is a huge get for A&M.
Dude's a hoss.
He's a hoss.
Looking at him on his tape, it's awesome. Well, anything else from the Elite 11? Closing thoughts? I mean, you could give a pretty exhaustive review. Any final closing thoughts out the door?
Just check out that content you said, because part of the Elite 11, now they do the All-22 camp, which features other positions outside of quarterbacks. For the sake of this, we wanted to stick strictly to the quarterbacks, but there were plenty of players from Texas that stood out at all the other position groups as well.
He is Greg Powers, our director of recruiting, giving us that recap from the Elite 11. We're going to take a quick ad break, and when we come back, we're going to switch it over to the basketball court and talk about the first weekend of March Madness with our chief bracketologist, Mallory Hartley. So you're going to want to stick around after that.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
30-yard line. The 20. the 10. Touchdown!
Hey DFW residents, get your grocery essentials in minutes, not hours or days, with Wing Drone Delivery. Forget about last-minute trips to the store when you need things like cereal for breakfast before school, medicine for a cold, or snacks for a movie night. Wing's drones get you quick, no-contact delivery in as fast as 15 minutes. Say goodbye to last-minute grocery runs and say hello to more of your valuable time. Sign up today.
Joined out here by Hayden Gunner at Denton High School. Man, it's a big day for you. You got your decision coming right now.
After a lot of thinking, with the family talking, stressing out.
Let's see exactly where Malik Hawkins is going to be heading.
First off, I want to start by thanking God. Without him, I wouldn't be anything. I wouldn't be blessed with all these opportunities.
Got 5 schools he's choosing between. We're about to find out who it's going to be. Got your teammates, coaches, family, friends surrounding you, so you couldn't have a bigger stage right here to announce it on. So without further ado, we're going to go to the man right here, Kobe Foreman. Who's it going to be?
I will be attending.
I'll be committed to the University of Oklahoma.
University of Texas A&M.
Stanford University.
The University of Oklahoma.
Every legend starts with a vision. For Dave Campbell, that vision was clear. Tell the story of Texas football like never before. In 1960, he built something no one had before, a magazine that became the Bible of Texas football. Coaches, players, and fans didn't just read it, they lived by it. His words shaped the game. His vision built a legacy. And his name? It will always be written in the story of Texas football. Dave Campbell's Texas Football, where legends begin.
Welcome back to Texas Football Today. I'm your host, Carter Yates, and joining me now up at the podium is our chief bracketologist, Mallory Hartley. Mallory, are you going through basketball withdrawals yet?
No, not yet. We got a lot of basketball left to play.
So you're not like, you're not looking in the rearview mirror, right? That's why the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror, because we got the Sweet 16 coming up.
You always got to look forward. You can never look back.
Exactly.
You know, and I feel pretty good about my bracket so far.
Well, that makes one of us.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Your bracket's pretty busted. But V and our champions are still in, so feeling pretty good about that.
We'll hear all about that coming up. Hey, V, give this girl her theme music.
There's a bump, little nickel dimer up top, foul on, I'd say, Price, and now a technical foul was just given to Tom Izzo. Again, the foul was on Oakland there, so this something that Tom Izzo upset about, though, and they quickly teed him up.
Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Yeah! Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it!
Well, we got to start off from the weekend
Fabulous.
On Thursday in the afternoon slate. We had a watch party at the Chill for your beloved Alabama State.
Oh.
What's
Hornets.
their mascot again? Hornets.
I can't take credit for liking them. I can't. That is a Greg Tepper joint. He's been on the Alabama State train for about a week.
Yeah, well, he was on it for a week. He was the number one customer. And so in honor of Greg Tepper, we'll talk about Alabama State. It was a true where were you moment when Alabama State cut it to 1 in the first half against Auburn. I really thought it was going to happen.
I did too. We were all sitting there. Like you said, we ended up going to a restaurant during the day, because that's typically what we like to do during the first weekend of March Madness. We're all big basketball fans. I can say in the office we all do the big tournament bracket challenge, and one of our favorite things to do every single year is get the crew together, and we'll go to a restaurant and watch the first Thursday or Friday of all the games in round one. And that's what we did on Thursday. We specifically picked Thursday because Alabama State played
the Hornets.
Yeah.
Well, they are the Hornets. They played the Auburn Tigers.
Auburn, yes.
So, okay, it was 2 minutes left in the first half. They cut it to 1, and then Auburn got fouled on an and 1, missed the free throw, kicked it out for a 3-pointer, 5-point possession, and that's when you knew it was over.
Yeah.
The dream run was done.
Yeah, and when the line came out, it was like 31.5, wasn't it, or something like that? So it was pretty big. But Tepper and I felt confident that Alabama State could cover.
Good teams win, great teams cover.
Yes, unfortunately, they did not cover. I don't think.
No, they did. They
did cover?
22. Yeah,
that's right. They did cover. Okay, I thought they ended up not covering that. But like you said, yeah, good teams cover, good teams win, great teams cover.
Yeah. So, an almost upset, and that kind of goes with the theme of this whole tournament. There's been 0 upsets. I saw from Chris Vanini, The Athletic, the only time in the history of March Madness that the Sweet 16 is only made up of power conference teams. And this was also the only time in the last 15 years that all seeds 1 through 4 won their first round game. So, Mallory, where's the madness? How do you rate this tournament considering it's just March? It's not March Madness.
Well, I think there were a couple of first round upsets. And here's the crazy thing. We were talking about this in the office when we first came in this morning. I don't really think there's a Cinderella team this year. I think maybe you could make the argument that McNeese winning that first round game. Who'd they play? I don't remember. Clemson, yeah.
I didn't remember who they played either. I was too focused on the student manager, Amir Ora Khan.
Who rocks, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He just signed a new NIL deal. Did you see that?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he's going to NC State with his head coach, Will Wade.
Amazing.
You wonder why Greg Tepper isn't here. He said he's on vacation. He might be taking the NC State basketball job.
I would not. I would not put that past him. I would not put that past him. So, but I would consider that an upset. Just because, one, I remember looking at the score of that game, and they were up by like 30 at one point. They ended up only winning by 2, which is, a little nerve-wracking, but they were up by they chilled out a little bit. Now, another one that was super interesting to me was that Memphis-Colorado State game, because Memphis, technically a 5 seed, should have been favored over the 12 seed Colorado State, but they weren't. They weren't favored in that game. And sure enough, Colorado State won. And I went back and forth in picking that game because I really like Memphis and I really like PJ Haggerty, but I talked to Ish about it a little bit, and he was like, I think it's because Memphis, they've struggled. Mm-hmm. They've struggled. It's tough for them to close out games. And he was like, I don't see them beating Colorado State. And so I was like, you know what, you're wrong. I'm going with Memphis. And sure enough, they did not win. Maybe kind of an upset there, but not anything that was extremely shocking. Like, obviously there were no 16-1s, 2 15s, stuff like that.
Well, there was one upset that was extremely shocking to me.
Round 1, at least, yeah.
VNA, can we throw up my bracket?
Yes.
For the viewers. Let me get out in front of this. I tweeted before that
get out in front of this.
I filled out a lot of really bad brackets in my lifetime. This one was by far the worst. I felt good, going into Saturday. It was a bracket of chalk, so all the squares like me were feeling good, and we had 90% bracket. And then St. John's, the Johnnies, I got all caught up in the Rick Pitino hype train.
I was going to say, can I ask you why you picked them not only to go to the Final Four, but as your national champion?
I just think that Rick Pitino, he coaches for the love of the game. Like, he took Iona to the Sweet 16.
He's a phenomenal coach. No, I agree with that.
Yeah, and I saw that St. John's, they could win the tournament as long as one of their 3 guys didn't go cold. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, they all went cold against Arkansas. So RJ Lewis Jr. went 3 for 17. Aaron Scott 1 for 10. Kadari Richmond 2 for 7. The announcer's like, St. John's could win it all as long as all 3 of these guys don't go cold.
And they all went cold.
Man, they couldn't.
They've got a phenomenal defense.
They couldn't throw a rock in the pond, though.
But nothing was falling. Yeah, that was tough. I'd consider that an upset too. Who else did you have in your Final Four?
Okay. PFT commenter one of my favorite podcasters, he made a really good point that St. John's would have won the entire March Madness if they played without a basketball hoop because they are so good defensively.
They are.
But they can't shoot.
Right. Well, and that mirrors my favorite team, too. So
you're in the same boat.
I'm in the same boat here.
Can we throw up Mallory's bracket?
Yeah, we can throw up my bracket. But, okay, so you had Michigan State. Sorry, I didn't look at your bracket. You had Michigan State coming out of the South. St. John's coming out of the West. Who'd you get coming out of the East?
No. I had Arizona and then Kentucky.
Okay, that's still alive. Okay, both still alive. Okay.
I got roasted on our Instagram comments for picking Kentucky.
Yeah, you sure did.
Some guy was like, "Bro doesn't watch any basketball and doesn't know that this ain't the same Kentucky." And I said, Wait till the brackets are over before you start talking crap, and then you could talk so much more about how I picked St. John's.
Yeah.
He should have been roasting me for that one.
Well, and Tennessee's playing Kentucky this week, so that'll be scary.
But enough about my
not bad. So you're still 3 for 4 as of right now.
Yes. That's soon to be 0 for 4.
Probably going to be 0 for 4. So my bracket, I'm still 4 for 4. I feel pretty good about that.
That's why you're our chief bracketologist.
Something like that. I got Michigan State coming out of the South. I don't feel good about that at all. I love my Spartans.
You're already giving up on them?
From what I saw yesterday,
it was tough.
It was tough. It was a St. John's performance.
Household.
It was a St. John's performance. We are incredibly defensively sound. I will go to my grave saying that we cannot shoot. We can't shoot on the perimeter. We couldn't get inside. Nothing was falling for us. And New Mexico's a good team. I'm not going to lie, but we should have beaten New Mexico by a little bit more than that. Anyways, off my high horse here, but I still have us coming out of the South. I have Florida coming out of the West, which they only won by 1 point against UConn. Did you see that game?
Yes, that was always the game that was going to trip them up, though, because I know UConn isn't the same beast as they were the past 2 years.
They weren't, but they still have that pedigree. They were going for that three-peat national title, right? So they've got that deep run pedigree. So I get that. I'm not holding much against Florida there. Alabama, I'm feeling okay about that. That Duke-Alabama inevitable matchup is going to be tough. And then out of the Midwest, I picked Houston. I feel fantastic about that one. So I'm not worried about that one at all. And then Florida, obviously, is my national championship. But I'm still 4 for 4 right now. So
I'm looking at V's bracket.
And VNA.
It's called V's Educated Guesses.
Yes.
Did you pick all 1 seeds in the Final Four?
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Auburn, Duke, Houston, Florida. You're all 1
right.
seeds.
She's like, no, I didn't. And we're like, yeah, you
She wanted to beat the 1 seed only allegations.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you.
I'm feeling mid. By educated guesses, I meant by the education of my knowledge of NCAA basketball, which is nothing. So these are great. If you guys want to digest this, I got Auburn coming out of the South, Florida to win it all coming out of the West, Houston, coming out of the Midwest, and then Duke coming out of the East. So
I think those are all solid picks, and I think this is the time of year that anybody can beat anybody. But then you also, you got to stick to what you know, and you got to stick to these teams are 1 seeds for a reason, and it's hard to go off the beaten path a little bit, but I like your picks. I do.
I can't believe you picked Auburn to go to the Final Four and championship game after they took down our beloved Alabama State.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
I saw.
What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm sorry, Tepper.
Okay. If you could have one redo right now, Carter.
St. John's. I'm not picking them to go all the way.
Give me your new Final Four, knowing what you know now. Give me your new Final Four.
Ooh, my new Final Four, knowing what I know now. I think I'm going to keep it the same with Michigan State. I'm not abandoning ship like you are.
I didn't say I was abandoning ship. I'm just saying it's going to be a little tougher.
Arizona. I'm picking Duke instead of Arizona. That was dumb. I didn't realize Cooper Flagg's healthy. I thought he was going to be kind of injured coming back. And then Kentucky.
Kentucky's not Kentucky.
I'd probably go. No, I'm going to stick with Kentucky, and I say that because it'd be so funny if Mark Pope in his first year got to the Final Four after Calipari couldn't get to the Final Four with Kentucky and got run out because of that. So I'll stay with Kentucky. And because I can't back down in the face of that one Instagram commenter either.
Yeah,
I've got to stay strong.
I get that. Okay, another question for y'all. Which Sweet 16 game are we all looking forward to the most, and why? Looking at the Sweet 16 here.
Yeah, you go first. Oh, wait, you know what I'll say? Ole Miss and Michigan State, because Ole Miss got former Texas coach Chris Beard.
Yep.
And Ole Miss, I don't know if they've ever been this far.
I don't think so either. And they look scary. They look scary. I can tell you that is not what I'm looking forward to. That is probably the game that I'm most stressed about. So that I will not be good. I really like Kentucky, Tennessee. I think that's gonna be a fun one. I believe Tennessee won pretty handedly in the regular season against Kentucky, but I think Kentucky can give people fits, and also they've got that March Madness pedigree. Anything can happen in the tournament. I think that's going to be one of the ones that I'm looking forward to probably the most. I like Texas Tech too. Texas Tech and Arkansas.
Shout out the Red Raiders.
Texas Tech and Arkansas. I really like that game, which they played in the bowl game. Football bowl game this year. Did you realize that? Another meeting in the Sweet 16.
I love when football matchups cross over into the basketball court.
Yeah. I think Arkansas looks really strong right now. Obviously, they're the ones that knocked St. John's out of the tournament.
I'm not that happy with Arkansas right now, but that's just personal.
That's personal reasons. But I think Tech's a very well-coached team. Grant McCasland is a phenomenal coach. I might be a little biased because he came from North Texas, but I really, really like this team. I think they're on fire right now. And I think Arkansas is too, so it's going to be head-to-head.
The one thing I will say about St. John's, I know they went out sad, but Rick Pitino looked fresh as hell in that suit.
He sure did.
And so did Calipari. I wish coaches wore suits more often because it just gives the game such a bigger game feel.
I know. It's like, and it's like kind of throws it back to the old times, right? Where like everyone used to dress up on the sidelines or on court side, but now it's just kind of like throw on your quarter zip and your sweatpants and you're good.
Or if you're Tom Izzo, throw on the elf costume.
Oh yeah, well that's
like in our intro.
That's always acceptable there.
I feel like you should have two options, either the elf costume or an Armani suit. But I don't make the rules.
No in between. Here. V, which one are you looking forward to the most?
H-Town, holding down.
Houston. Yep. I like Houston too.
That's just shout out Pickle. I know that the most, and I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah, Houston will be a good one.
Well, let's hope for a little more upsets and a little more madness in March coming up in the Sweet 16. But the one thing about no upsets through the first two rounds is that a loaded slate of games.
Yeah.
And I know Mallory would be all over it as our chief bracketologist. Any closing thoughts through the door?
Somebody in the comments said more like March Madness, and I love that.
I was about to say that.
I think that's a
cancel the tournament.
Shout out to CDog441906. That was fire.
Yep, back to the drawing board. Cancel the tournament.
March Madness.
Back to the drawing board. All right. Well, hey, thanks to our March Madness bracketologist, Mallory Hartley.
Like it.
For Vianney Moreno in Michigan Troll, I am Carter Yates signing off for Texas Football Today. Thank you for supporting this favorite mediocre internet show.